universities of America, they teach the frog plus time equals a prince. Think about it. Isn't that really what it boils down to? There's a word you got to memorize. Put this one down for a quiz question, Heidi. The word farm is the acrostic. F-A-R-M are the first letters. For F is for fish. A is for amphibian. They say that evolved next. A-M-P-H-I-ibian, amphibian. And then F-A-R is for reptile. And then M for mammal. That's a quick way to memorize how evolution supposedly happened. The fish evolved first, and they slowly evolved into amphibians, and they slowly evolved into reptiles, and then they slowly evolved into the mammals and the birds. This is the way they teach it. They're still teaching that the frog turns to the prince. But now it doesn't happen quickly, it happens slowly. If I told you the magician flew through the air across the room, you'd say, well, that's a fairy tale, right? What if I said he walked slowly through the air? It's still a fairy tale, right? Time doesn't change anything. But what it really boils down to is time is the hero for evolution. Did you know back in 1770 they were teaching the Earth is 70,000 years old? By 1905 they were teaching it's 2 billion years old. 1969, when they landed on the moon, they said the Earth is 3.5 billion years old. Now they're saying it's 4.6 billion years old. The numbers keep getting bigger because they're realizing more problems. That wouldn't work. That'd take too long. That couldn't happen. I'm sure they're going to bump this number up. Someday they won't be saying 4.6. They'll be saying 4.7 or 5.0 or who knows. They keep adding time because somehow it gets lost in the human brain. Well, wow, that could be true, you know. No, I'm sorry. It's still frogs don't turn to princes. I don't care how long you give them. Okay, who remembers the atheist Madeleine Murray O'Hare's son's name? Oh, take a raisin. You all got it right. William Murray. Very good. What grade was he in when they took prayer out of schools? 9th grade. The man that came here the other day, Dan, and ran the tractor leveling, he lives in Mobile, worked for a while here. He did the landscaping for Madeleine Murray O'Hare, her atheist headquarters in Texas. He made her a special walking stick. Now, the guy's a Christian. In her cane that she used, the top unscrewed. She did not know that. He unscrewed the top and put a little tiny Bible in there. There's Madeleine Murray O'Hare walking around with a Bible in her hand for years. Never did know it. He said he only saw her smile one time. All the time he worked there. He helped her up out of the chair one time and gave her a big hug. Only time he's ever seen her smile. If you read My Life Without God by William Murray, he gives a little of the history of his mother, Madeleine Murray O'Hare. Madeleine's mother was just a teenager when she got pregnant out of wedlock. She didn't want to have the baby, so she jumped out of the second-story window trying to have an abortion. Landed flat on her stomach, I believe. Bam! Right on the baby. Madeleine was born anyway. They said when she was born, the embryonic sac around her was black. The doctor had never seen that before. She was unloved, unwanted from way before she was born. Grew up thinking, nobody loves me, and she was the leader of the atheist organization for years. Everybody needs to know somebody loves you. I don't know the details of the story, and I can't verify that it's true, but I heard from reliable sources that there was a young boy in Germany that went to Sunday school. He was a very poor boy, had no shoes, raggedy clothes, and decided to go to Sunday school one day. One of the deacons met him at the door and said, "Son, you can't come to God's house dressed like that. Go home and get some good clothes, and then you can come back to church." Well, of course, it broke the little boy's heart. You know, he's just trying to go to Sunday school, you know, and he didn't have good clothes. Some deacon turned him away at the door, refused to let him come. That boy grew up and became, I believe, Adolf Eichmann, Hitler's right-hand man. You just never know who you're going to influence when they're a child. You just never know. Somebody should have reached Madalyn Murray O'Hair. Somebody should have reached Bill Clinton when he was a kid. Somebody should have. Who knows how many people were passing up? How many kids right now, how many kids today in Pensacola were taught evolution? Thousands of them, right? Who's going to teach them the truth? See, this is our job. One of our jobs is to go into all the world. And a lot of Christians right there, they miss the first part of the Great Commission. Jesus didn't say, build a big building and wait till the world comes to you. That's what most churches are doing, aren't they? Hey, we're here, come to us. They're not going to come to you. Go ye into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. And then teach them to observe all things whatsoever I've commanded you. We need to get out. And average Christian, after they've been saved 4 or 5 years going to church, they don't have any more lost friends. How many just plain old heathen do you know? Most people, when they first get saved, they're real zealous, and they're the best ones to bring new converts in. But after they've been saved a few years, they don't have any lost friends anymore. We've lost contact with the world, folks, and that's tragic. I don't mean you need to have all heathen friends and hang around with the heathen all the time, but we need to have some lost friends that we're trying to influence. Who are you trying to influence for God right now? You ought to be working on somebody. You ought to have some short terms you can reach and some long term. It may take you 30 years to reach them. But they ought to know, that guy's my friend. I can go to him if I have trouble. We've lost contact with the world. The textbooks, though, teach that the frog slowly turns to the prince over billions and billions of years, and it just doesn't happen. I don't know how to get them to see how silly it is, but, folks, it is silly. It's crazy. It doesn't happen. The textbook's magic ingredient, though, to make this change happen is billions of years. All through the books you see phrases like billions of years ago. This is a 4th grade textbook. Millions of years ago. Blah, blah, blah. Something happened. Now, Hitler said, if you tell a lie long enough and loud enough and often enough, the people will believe it. How many times is it, by the time a student goes through 12 years of school, here in the Bible Belt, Florida, how many times will he have heard the phrase, millions of years ago, between textbooks, TV, museum tours? You think several hundred times he's heard that? Probably several thousand times, right? Eventually it gets into his brain and he just thinks, well, it must have happened. After all, I've heard this millions of times. It's propaganda. That's the way it works. I teach the students what you need to do. If somebody says, millions of years ago, just simply ask them the question, were you there? They'll say, well, no, of course I wasn't there. See, the word science, this will be on the quiz, science comes from the word, it literally means to know. That's the simplest definition. Science means knowledge. That would be good enough, or to know. A more expanded definition is knowledge gained by observation or experimentation. Now please tell me, is it possible to know that the earth is billions of years old? Can you observe that? No. Can you believe that? Oh yeah. And when I speak in public schools, I will try to teach the kids the difference between what you know and what you believe. For instance, I'll show them a textbook that says billions of years ago, and I'll say, oh, the kids right there. Does the guy who wrote this book, was he there? No. Does he know it's billions of years old, or does he believe it's billions of years old? And they start to say, oh yeah, he believes it. I use the word think. Does he know or does he think? Well, he thinks it's billions of years old, doesn't he? Is there any way he can know that? Can he observe it? Can he test it? Can he demonstrate it? No. He can only believe it. And once you get the kids to see there's a difference between knowing and believing. Believing is part of your faith, your religion. Knowing is for science. So we can know that everybody calls this the deltoid muscle. Now how did we get that muscle? Oh, now that's what you believe of how it came to be. And people often take the facts and then add their beliefs to the facts and think the two go together. I tell people, hey, beer is sold at football games. Beer has nothing to do with football. And just because evolution is stuck into the book does not mean it has anything to do with science. They're not connected. Beer does not become athletic by association. And evolution does not become scientific by association with science. It is often associated with science, and I'm sorry about that. I'm trying to get it out. But it's not science. Most Americans believe God created the world in the last 10,000 years.